It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. I'm just sorry. I just got to start out with this.
Yeah, what do you got?
Because there's some political publications out there. We talk about it. You know, you've got Politico, you got thehill.com. Mm-hmm. We've been paying a lot to thehill.com because a lot of times if something's going on, when you have a shutdown like this, you may hear about it first. And we'll get to that coming up because they had more votes yesterday on this, but so that you got Politico, you got the Wall Street Journal, you got the New York Times, you got National Review, which a conservative publication, and so I'm going through just scanning the headlines of National Review, and the shutdown talk and Israel and everything else. All of a sudden, I see the headline. Seriously, who is Bad Bunny?
No, I think, here's the thing. I think it's time that, because I always look around, then all of a sudden, someone says, well, that's so-and-so. And I'm like, well, who's that? Well, they're the singer of whatever song. Well, I've never heard that song. And I was telling you off the air the other day, this is on me. I'm not sitting around listening to Machine Gun Kelly. And the only reason I know who he is because he was in a comedy and actually did a pretty good job playing himself. It was actually pretty funny. But, of course, I had to pause the movie and then, find out, well, who's Machine Gun Kelly? I saw the ad for his, apparently he's on tour again. But the Bad Bunny thing, the same thing, right? I think it's time for us to say it's okay that we don't know who these people are. Because inevitably, remember when they announced Bruno Mars is going to be and now that ended up being one hell of a halftime show in terms of the show that was put on. And he's one of those entertainers that's got he's got a huge band. And it's like, and I learned a little more about that from my grandkids. No joke. And my grandkids love Bruno Mars. And it was like, okay, I knew who Bruno Mars was. But a lot of times you'll hear these, so whoever's name in the news, and then, or sometimes they'll attach the name or the word mogul to it. So these are people that are already worth $500 million. So they've clearly had some success, and nobody knows who they are.
Well, I mean, I knew who Bad Bunny was. I seen the name. The music.
I thought it was the worst flavor of ice cream at Walmart. That's honestly what I thought it was.
I did, hear like 10 seconds of a song one time and went, whatever. Yeah. And then, moved on. But I think this is Mark Antonio Wright, National Review. Bad Bunny has been vocal about social issues affecting Puerto Rico. In an interview this month, he said he did not incorporate the mainland United States into his latest tour because he was fearful his fans would be targeted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. On Sunday night, shortly before the Super Bowl announcement, Bad Bunny posted on social media, after discussing it with my team, I think I'll just do one date in the United States. And then he writes here, look, I understand that there's a politics and culture war angle to this story. Many people are apparently wondering why the National Football League and Commissioner Goodell would go for the trans cause-supporting, dress-wearing rapper who challenges traditional gender roles in the midst of the so-called anti-woke vibe shift. Many are riled up at this or that controversy set off by Mr. Bunny. Over his career. But I got to tell you, none of that was my first thought.
Yeah.
I was surprised, actually stunned by the news because I had simply never heard of this guy before. Not once. I had no opinion, not at all.
Yeah.
Bad Bunny had never crossed my radar screen before the Super Bowl news broke. Now, the Super Bowl halftime shows in recent years haven't exactly been my cup of tea, but I was at least familiar with Coldplay 2016, Lady Gaga 2017, Shakira 2020, Usher 2020. I had heard of The Weeknd 2021, and I could have probably recognized a few of his songs. But Bad Bunny, seriously, never heard of him. I had to go ask the National Review Buckley Fellows and the staff writer kids who this guy was. It all reminds me of that famous tweet, all celebrity news looks like this. Curtains for Zeusa, K-Smog, and Bat Boy caught flipping a grunt. I have no idea what that means.
Exactly.
Gentlemen of the jury, I think this means that I'm officially old.
No, it's, look, you go for, and if, I remember the whole thing with Beyonce and everything else, and it's like, all right, these are people that are essentially household names. Not that I'm fans. I don't listen to their music. But, the NFL's going to do what it's going to do. And it just makes you wonder why they didn't go broader. Because, again, all of those names you brought up, or Beyonce, or it's like, okay, I'm not a fan, but I know why they chose that artist. And then I think to myself, I don't know, isn't the halftime show, it's like a meeting they have in the office in the middle of the day. You're going to be there anyway. And so you just, okay, I guess I'll go down the hall and, hey, they say they're going to serve cake at the meeting. I mean, you're going to just tune in because you're already there for the Super Bowl. And if you don't care about the music, you're, I don't know, going down the hall to the restroom. You're doing something else. It's always, to me, seemed like it's been overhyped. Not that there haven't been great halftime shows. There have been great halftime shows. But you could bring out, for me, a marching band or...
Oh, yeah.
There could be a number of...
care less.
There a number of really great orchestrated demonstrations to entertain the masses while the teams take a break at halftime. It wouldn't change my opinion.
For me to begin with, I'm probably different than the demographic that they're hitting on a ton of different things. For example, and I haven't watched a Super Bowl just because of work since 2006 was the last one I saw. After a year, the first year I was here, I took that day, the Super Bowl, off. But I don't anymore. So we work. So I'm sleeping when it happens. I don't like all the pregame shows. I could care less about fantasy football. Yeah. I don't care about any. They way overdo it. It's like when they start at the Super Bowl and they start the broadcast, I don't know, at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., I just don't care. All I care about is the game. It's the only thing I really care about.
Exactly.
I'm a football fan. It's one of the reasons, and this goes back to when I first came here now, a long, long time ago. I used to go, when I grew up in Buffalo, to the NBA games of Buffalo Braves. I love basketball. Mm-hmm. Really, it was after then Buffalo lost their team, and that became, I don't even know what there's like an algorithm for it, either the Boston Celtics or the San Diego or whatever, they're the San Diego Clippers, which became the L.A. Clippers. The L.A. Clippers are the ones that claim that they're the old Buffalo Braves, but technically it was actually the Boston Celtics. And so really the last time I paid really a lot of attention to it was Bird and Magic. So you're going to the late 80s, maybe the very early 90s. And then when I moved here with Dirk Nowitzki, I started going to the NBA games. And I've started, and then finally I just said no more. And it was when they started, the public address announcer, everything was screaming and everything was advertisements. And even if you see they're playing when the action is on, just as it begins, they're still playing some kind of beat to it. And I go to sporting events to see sporting events. I don't go to sporting events to see musical acts. I don't go to hear any type of music. I don't care to get yelled at or instructed on how to cheer. And as I've said one time, I said, well, I finally realized why the NBA went that way, because it's all liberal cities. Where the NBA is really super popular is all the liberal cities. And the liberal leaders believe, and the NBA leaders believe, that the people who watch their games are idiots. And so they even have to be instructed how to cheer, when to cheer, why to cheer. And that's why they got the offensive public address announcer. And then they've always got that person in between, the irritable 20-something male out there going, and now we've got T-shirts to throw up, and shut up!
Yeah, because yelling is annoying.
So that's where I am on all of it. There's my little rant for the day, my sport. But I just don't care. I just care about the game. So, I'll tell you one thing. When I mentioned the other day, remember when there were the complaints back in the 90s about it? And remember the Butt Bowl, the Beavis and Butthead thing came in? Mm-hmm. And then also you had in Living Color, they did that special Men on Football. Mm-hmm. I talked to, which was two gay men talking football.
Right.
And it was so funny because I'd mentioned that the other day, and I went home and went to YouTube. That was the first thing on there, was that Super Bowl halftime show.
Right. Right.
Men on Football. I went,
right.
My God, the speakers are picking up everything that I say and making sure when I wake up in the morning, there it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I just got an advertisement for bad ice cream at Walmart, but there's this. Again, sometimes it feels like they're trying too hard. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I get it. But the halftime show, to me, has never been the point. You could have said, they could say, listen, for halftime, we're going to show commercials. We're going to show a lot of commercials. Because the rates for our commercials have gone through the roof. And that's what we're going to do. We're not going to hire anybody. We're going to show really silly commercials that people will be talking about for, I don't know, about 2 hours after the game. And that's what we're going to do. And I'd go, oh, okay. Nothing would change because, again, the whole point is the game. It's the game.
I know why they're doing it. One of the major reasons that they're doing it.
That they chose Bad Bunny?
Yeah.
Hmm.
They want the Central American and South American market. That's why they play games in Brazil now.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they play them in Mexico now.
Yeah.
The NFL's talking about every single team in a couple of years will play one game out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's about they wish to they look at it and they go, they've tapped the U.S. market. They probably believe that most U.S. viewers don't care about the halftime show. That's when they take the break.
Well, when Jerry Jones was told he could build a new stadium in Venezuela for $200, he was like, "Really?"
But that's, I mean, they're going. When I saw that the other day, I went, I just, for the American fan, I don't think anybody really cares about the NFL playing in Europe. And even though they all sell out, I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to want to have to be in a division where there's a team in London where they have to play, 3 or 4 times a year, or even, they've got to, or twice a year, they've got to go over to play, the Great Britain team or the, I don't know, French team, because you'd be in that division.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't see if we'd have a European division of football. I just don't see that going with Americans.
Yeah.
But I think
the French team would forfeit a lot. That's the problem.
They have the whiteouts, except, like they had at Penn State last week, and I think the Bills are doing it this week. Everybody's dressed in white, and they're all doing it.
Yeah.
In France, though, would mean surrender. We're giving up this game. We don't stand a chance.
We're going to forfeit. And I don't need a team based in London, because that means, inevitably that at 4:00 you're going to stop down and have tea. And that's not football.
Exactly. But I just saw that article and I just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Well, what we thought would be the argument is the argument going on, and it was really interesting yesterday about the shutdown and health care for illegals and everything else, and the Democrats conflating Obamacare subsidies with with what the Republicans are talking about here, and Democrats they're lying. Mm-hmm. We all know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They're not talking about direct subsidies to illegal immigrants for Obamacare. They're talking about the federal dollars that go to states, and states are taking that money because they have an availability to do it, and they're using it to pay hospitals. They're taking federal dollars to pay hospitals for care for illegal immigrants.
Right.
The federal government is saying if the states wish to do that, fine. If the federal government, no. And that's what the Democrats were attempting to protect. There, it took 10 seconds. Could Republicans please get together and market that very quickly?
It's pretty simple. How many times have we seen Mike Johnson out there in front of cameras in recent days?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because I saw Joe Scarborough. They're lying to you. They're lying. They're lying to their own constituents. And then Mika comes on and says, yes, this is about basically the reimbursements to the states. Well, that's what they're talking about.
That's the problem.
So we'll get to some coming up. Cause
well, it's, and I saw, where else did they do that? The View? I think same thing on The View. It's, again, lying about what's actually going on. Yeah. It's the left that's lying. And then after their lie, they admit the problem.
Yes. And again, I'll show you a couple of examples of that actually happening yesterday. Yeah. All right. 866, got a great show. 866-90-RED-I.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
We at Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, listen to the back and forth here on the government shutdown. Here we go. All right.
Can I say one thing, which is that people who are in the country illegally cannot get these subsidies that we're talking about?
Sure they can.
No, they can't. No,
sure
they can't. It's federal law,
who
Scott,
do you think? Who do you think pays when they go to the emergency room? It's the Medicaid
Scott,
emergency program.
Going to the emergency room is not getting an Obamacare subsidy.
You guys are conflating. You guys are conflating these issues.
You're
conflating these issues.
You're being dishonest with
the subsidies are a separate issue. The Medicaid program cuts are a different thing.
Right, but I'm talking about
Medicaid
subsidies.
and the Obamacare stuff are 2 different issues. And I said the subsidies may get negotiated over time, but what Democrats want to do is roll back what the Republican Medicaid reforms were. They want, look, I don't understand why everybody's so mad. For time immemorial, Democrats have argued that it's good. It's good for illegal immigrants to get Medicaid. Every candidate for president in 2020 raised their hand for it. In the big, beautiful bill debate, they argued it was good policy. I can't believe there's an about-face in the Democratic Party on it today.
And that's one thing that she's, without question, doing, Caitlin Collins. They're conflating the 2 issues.
Yeah.
We've known the issue. The one issue is subsidies for Obamacare, which are supposed to end at the end of the year. That's got nothing to do with the continuing resolution. They want to add that in there. Continuing resolution's got nothing to do with it. And the Obamacare subsidies are not the federal Medicaid dollars that states are using to pay for health care for illegal immigrants. They're 2 separate topics.
Right.
Jeez.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right, so here we go. This is Hakeem Jeffries on with Jake Tapper. All right, and this was, and we had brought it up. We said this is going to be the issue tomorrow, and again, they're going to accuse the Republicans of lying. But when you actually break it down to what the Republicans are saying and what the Republicans' problems have been, and we know it because we've been following this, it's that the federal Medicaid dollars the states are taking to pay for illegal immigrants and their health care in hospitals. That's what the concern is. It's not, I don't know anyone, and if they did, I would call them out on it. I don't know any Republicans has come out and said the Obamacare subsidies they wanted, as CNN was trying, as Caitlin Collins was trying to make that case, and Scott Jennings shot her down. But here's this, back and forth.
Donald Trump blessed it as well.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of health care subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that? And
there you go. Yeah. So he knows it.
Right.
They know it. They know what it is, but they're trying to conflate it now because they know they can't win that argument.
No.
And so what they're doing is and it's just let me just see if I can find the one from Morning Joe, because he's just going bonkers. You know, they're lying. They're absolute liar. Lying to everybody. Okay, did I find it? Yes, I think I have it. Let's get in the middle of it. Okay. All right, here we go.
But that was just a lie. He felt very comfortable lying. Just lying. He knew he was lying, and everybody that repeats that lie knows the vice president's lying about that. And now it's happening again. This time, the lie, and the Speaker of the House, Mr. I rule by the Bible, spreading an unambiguous lie. Unambiguous lie. Going into this government shutdown, they're lying to their own supporters. They're lying to their own constituents. They're lying to their own followers, saying Democrats want to shut down the government because they want to give great health care benefits to illegal immigrants. It's a total lie. So I'm wondering, where in the Bible does Mike Johnson read Jesus saying, you know what, tell the truth except, well, when it might serve you well politically, and then just lie. And why don't you, while you're lying, why don't you spread lies about those who are on the outskirts of society, those who are suffering right now the most? Why don't you lie about the weakest among us, Mikey? I mean, but that's what he's doing. He's spreading the lie. The president's spreading the lie. All the Republicans are lying through their teeth. And any podcaster today that spreads this lie, anybody on other news networks that spreads this lie, knows exactly what they're doing. There is no Democratic plan to give health care, Cadillac benefits to illegal immigrants. It's not.
Has anybody said that?
No.
Nobody has said that.
No.
Nobody has. That's the lie right there. Now, remember, understand the source. The source is Joe Scarborough, who said that this is the best Joe Biden there's ever been.
Right.
So understand the lengths that he will go to lie to make his particular point.
Well, right before he said it, he said, F you if you can't handle the truth.
Right.
And then lied to you.
All right, now let's get back to then, because it's not over yet. Here we go. Here.
Even legal.
Well, as you and John Bresnahan just pointed out, the GOP is repeating what the New York Times calls a new and misleading talking point, that Democrats are shutting down the government to fund free health care for unauthorized immigrants. The false assertion, has been repeated by Vice President J.D. Vance and Speaker Mike Johnson, along with the president himself. Here's what is important to note. Undocumented immigrants have long been prohibited from taxpayer-funded Medicaid coverage, except for treatment in emergency medical situations. They also do not qualify for Medicaid and Medicare. The fight on Capitol Hill is over reimbursements that allow...
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the reimbursements that allow the states to... The states take the money and use it, and the federal government's like, no, if you want to fund that Medicaid, you can do that. And as far as I know, treatment in hospitals, I know this is a big lie to the Democrats, is health care.
That's health care. Again.
And we've been talking about this for months. How many times have we brought this up? This is what's going on. And then they go through the entire thing. They're lying. This is about reimbursements back. That's what they're talking about.
That's the problem.
There's nobody saying that Medicaid will provide Cadillac health care plans through subsidies for Obamacare, as they're attempting to imply.
Right.
Wow. That's why we've got to tear it apart point by point by point by point by point.
They just defeated their entire... Mika just came in and defeated Joe's entire rant. Just defeated it.
And then here's the next one. This is Jeffries talking about how the continuing resolution is partisan. And listen to Jake Tapper back. Because it's not. The continuing resolution that first started in March, where Republicans were all upset. They were upset because it kept the Biden funding, what came from the Biden administration, that funding that the Democrats passed and Biden agreed to, it kept the Biden-era funding going all the way till October 1st, which Republicans were screaming about.
Right.
Why are we extending what Biden was doing?
Right.
This does the exact same thing, extends it to November 21st.
Right.
But Hakeem Jeffries' point is, since Republicans passed it, it's a partisan bill, even though the origination of it was not changed from Biden. Here we go. All right, listen to this.
The partisan spending bill, is that the one big beautiful bill or the continuing resolution? Because the continuing resolution just funds the government at the current level.
Well, actually, the continuing resolution that they have presented to the Congress is a partisan bill. House Democrats voted against it in March because it hurt veterans, hurt seniors, hurt children, hurt child care affordability, hurt housing affordability, and hurt health care, which is why we opposed it.
You're saying that Chuck Schumer then voted for a Republican partisan bill because he voted for that. So did 9 other Democrats in the March. The partisan...
Yeah, right. Let's bring up that old sore wound.
Because it's the Biden spending.
Yes. That's the whole idea behind a continuing resolution.
Yes, you continue what was there. So there you go. I mean, don't know what else to say except we broke everything down for you. And it's, again, for us, since we pay attention, we know what it is. But the Democrats are hoping that you're not paying attention, and therefore they can tell you something that isn't actually true.
Because the follow-up question to that should have been, well, wait a minute. Mr. Jeffries, you're saying that Biden was hurting... What did he say? The elderly and veterans and all of this and affordable housing, that Biden was working against all that stuff? It was the Biden agenda budget. Are you blaming Biden for this? By the way, he might be. I'm not saying he's not.
Wait a minute. You might need Kamala to help promote this thing for you. Get Kamala out there.
Oh, she'll blame Biden for it.
It was all Biden's fault. All Biden's fault.
I think it's on page 106. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. No, they should come up with, honestly, they should have a continuing resolution that lasts 107 days. Oh, my gosh.
And then claim after the 107 days that it just wasn't long enough.
It just wasn't long enough.
If it would have got a continuing resolution over 107 days,
right,
that would have been
exactly.
fine. But 107 days, no.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
108 days would have been enough time, but no. 107 isn't. It's you can see now. We know when the left or when the Democrats feel defeated, cornered, whatever you want to say. This is another example of that. Because they have to come out, because these were the talking points. This was everywhere yesterday. All of them had the same talking points, trying to make the same points. And they were conflating it, and it was very clear. It was from early on. It was like, okay, all right, this is the route they're going to go. You know, and I look at you look at it from, you try and step back and get out of, step back from the Beltway. How many people are paying attention to it? Now, I'll say this, in terms of a government shutdown, it isn't the political football it used to be. But I'll tell you what is. Health care for illegals.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, and that's where you see now where the left is getting defensive. That's where the Democrats get defensive now, and this is why they have to lie about it.
Well, isn't their argument, well, number one, when they conflate the Obamacare subsidies, which is a completely different issue.
Right.
Well, one's a completely different issue.
Right.
But what they're saying is we're not, the Republicans are saying that we're providing health care for illegals. We're not providing health care for illegals on the federal level. We're simply taking federal dollars that states are taking to pay for health care for illegal immigrants.
Right. Right.
That's their argument.
Right.
Am I wrong on that? I
No.
mean, did I
Nope.
miss anything?
No.
We got to go through the minutia.
No.
We got to go
Mika
point by
just
point by
pointed-
point by point by point.
When
It's the
Mika
reimbursement.
points it out.
Right. Jeez.
And she did after Joe's rant.
Would it be great to go in Scarborough and go, come on, this is tired and old from you.
Well,
this whole thing that you accuse other people of lying, while Mika right there shows what the Republicans have been saying, and you're making up stuff just like you did with Joe Biden. You said This is
Exactly.
the best Joe Biden there's ever been.
But because right after Mika was done, I would have said, ouch.
Yeah.
Joe, that's got to hurt.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And more audio coming up here on the insanity of the arguments of the shutdown, especially from the left. But I love the one, though, Hakeem Jeffries, that the continuing resolution is partisan because Republicans passed it when the substance of the actual bill, and it's very important that people know this, is its exact spending levels that Democrats wanted during the Biden administration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they really can't win that, and I just hope. And again, my viewing could be skewed because I'm only seeing what I see. Maybe the Republicans made in other areas a great defense of it. Our point is it's very simple, and you can explain it, the minutia, within 30 seconds and do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not that hard.
Right.
And, Scott Jennings was attempting to do it, and for us succeeded, where he stated, wait a minute, you're conflating two things. You're now taking, you can't win the one argument, so you're saying that that the Republicans are saying there's going to be Cadillac health care plans that the Democrats want for illegals. Well, they do. They actually want that.
Yeah.
But that's not what the debate is for the continuing resolution from Republicans. Republicans are saying it is the reimbursement of federal funds that the states are using to pay for health care for illegal immigrants.
Right.
That is absolutely correct, and that's what they're fighting, and that's what they say we wish to stop. If the state wishes to do it, fine.
Right.
Now, there's a whole other argument, as we've discussed, and I'm sure we'll continue to discuss, about the huge increases in subsidies for Obamacare and the skyrocketing cost of Obamacare.
Oh, yeah.
That's another topic, but it
separate issue, right?
Separate than the continuing resolution.
Yes.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA. We are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. The guy over there is Eric Harley.
Hi.
And a good morning. I just saw this on X. I mean, just scanning stuff, and in a moment, I think one of the best explanations from Mike Johnson on the whole debate of the shutdown. I've been searching, and I said this right before we went into the break. I said, I wish I would hear more precise things in 30 seconds, and I've been looking, and he does a really good job here.
Okay.
And we'll get to that in just a moment. But I wanted to play this audio just to give you some perspective of just how insane the left is. And I just happened to see this as I was scanning on X for just different stories out there about the shutdown. This has nothing to do from the shutdown, though, but this is Joy Reid. Remember Joy Reid from MSNBC?
Right.
And she's talking about when her mother came here, basically how she's a victim. When her mother came here from Guyana, she realized it's not the land of opportunity for people like us and everything else. So the audio isn't great, but I want to play it because the response was just tremendous. All right, here we go.
All right,
here we go.
And I mean, and as somebody who's, my parents, my father was from the Congo and my mother was from Guyana. And so they were the immigrants who came here on purpose and they got the rude awakening. My mother got the rude awakening, like, oh, it's racist here. That's weird. For some reason, she was like, why told me? Why go to Brazil? Yeah, she's like, tell me this is the land of opportunity, but not for me. It's weird.
And land of opportunity, but not for me. And as she said also, then not for, quote, my mother came from Guyana. She realized it is not a land of opportunity for people like us, end of quote.
Okay.
The average salary in Guyana, $5,200 a year. When Joy Reid was at MSNBC, $3 million a year.
Oh.
I mean, it's just, this is where we as conservatives look at people on the left. Now, I will say she was too even far left for MSNBC because she was let go, but she was making $3 million a year and crying that she's a victim.
Yeah.
This was, it was also similar to remember the NBA a couple of years ago? Remember the left? They're all they are millionaire slaves. Well, you can't really put millionaire. If you're paying somebody millions of dollars, that's sort of the opposite narrative of the word slave.
Right. They were trying to equate essentially being in a contract.
Yes.
Which comes with millions and millions of dollars in pay to slavery.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just threw that out there as things we conservatives don't understand about the left.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. Really is. So here we go. All right, let's go to I want to play this because this is Mike Johnson, speaker, on with Dana Bash here on the shutdown, and he does very good in going point by point and making it clear. Let's play a little bit here on the shutdown. Here we go.
Joining me now is a key player in all of this, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Thank you so much for coming in. It's nice to see you in person. You have said, quote, there is literally nothing to negotiate. There's nothing I can do. You are the Speaker of the House. There is, in fact, a lot you can do.
Well, there's not, actually. Let me explain that. As you noted, they're voting right now on the Senate floor. We'll see how that turns out. Last night, two Democrats and an independent flipped and came along with the Republicans. But it looks like, and what we expect, is that most of the Democrats in the Senate, again, will reject the clean CR that we sent over. It's clean. What that means is it's nonpartisan. We didn't add any Republican priorities or poison pills or gimmicks or tricks into that at all. It's 24 pages. I mean, everybody can read it for themselves. It simply continues the Biden-era spending levels that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have already supported in the past. They just did it most recently in March. And he gave long speeches about how it was so critically important that we not shut the government down.
All right, just so we want to hit that there. So he hit that perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could actually make the argument it is partisan because it's the Biden spending levels that was all partisan. But if it was partisan, you can make the argument it was partisan in the other way, except if now Republicans vote for it, you can make the case that it's nonpartisan because now Republicans agree with it. Right. So let's continue. Here we go.
There's nothing for me to give. There's nothing to negotiate. I don't have any Republican priorities to put on the table because we sent over a clean CR, and that's why none of this makes sense.
Okay, so the Democrats argue that it's priorities, yes, that are maybe their policy priorities, but they also should be the priorities for people in your district and in Republican districts across the country. The biggest of which they argue is extending the subsidies for people who can't afford Obamacare to be able to afford Obamacare. I understand that they don't expire until the end of the calendar year.
Right.
The argument that they make is that insurance companies start to make a plan like soon. And so by the time they make that plan, the subsidies will expire. Isn't there something to that?
No, that's a December policy issue. It's going to take
But
many,
insurance
many
companies
months
have to make their decisions well before December.
The benefits do not expire until December 31, and insurance companies can make different decisions. Okay, there's plenty of time on the clock. That's an eternity, as you know, in legislative terms, to have 3 months ahead of us to do that. The reason we put a simple 7-week extension of government funding is to allow for all that debate. The month of October is going to be very important for us to determine all these things and to have a bipartisan discussion and deliberation over that. But we have to have the lights on in the building to do it. The first and most important function of Congress is to keep the government in operation. Every Democrat who's voting no today has said that many times. We're playing the highlight reel. Just listen to what Chuck Schumer himself has said until today.
I just want to be clear. You are saying, hard line, red line, you will not negotiate on anything until the government is reopened.
Chuck Schumer was in the Oval Office with me, 48 hours ago. We were there. The president, as a strong leader, he brought all of us in, all 4 leaders, Thune and Schumer and myself and Hakeem Jeffries. And the president said, make your case. What is it you want? And Chuck Schumer repeated in that meeting what he put on paper. The counter proposal that he filed, everyone can go read it for themselves, would add $1.5 trillion in new spending on a 7-week stopgap measure. We're not doing that. He wants to give health care to illegal aliens again. We're not doing that. He wanted to claw back $50 billion that our Republican Big Beautiful Bill put in to prop up rural hospitals. Now, people say, why would he do that? I thought he was for health care. Well, a lot of those rural hospitals, most of them are in red states. So I don't know. I don't know what his motivation is, but we can't do it.
You had a very spirited discussion with my friend and colleague Caitlin Collins about illegal immigrants getting health care. I don't want to repeat that. If you want to see it, you can look on YouTube. I just want to say, for the record, that right now the law of the land is explicitly that illegal immigrants do not get health care.
That's correct, because we added that in the law. It got signed into law July 4th. That was the Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill. Chuck Schumer's proposal is to repeal that.
Okay,
Go look at page 57 of the bill that he filed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have your people printed something out for me. So let's just kind of finish this, and then I want to ask you about other things.
Sure.
If Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries came to you and said, what you interpret as giving illegal immigrants health care is off the table, would you reopen the government?
Well, no, because he's put all sorts of other things. These
Okay,
other
so
things
let's talk about
listed.
the other
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Let's talk
yeah.
about the other things. So you mentioned $1.5 trillion. $1 trillion of that is to reverse Medicaid cuts that you put in the big, beautiful bill.
Medicaid reforms, not cuts.
Well,
now don't take my word for it.
It's less spending.
Don't
you
take
can call
my word
it what
for
you
it.
want.
The CBO, Congressional Budget Office, which everybody cites and CNN does all the time as the neutral arbiter of all these things, they came out with a report on August 25th, just several weeks back, and they said, you know what happened in that big, beautiful bill, this is what we project. It's going to save Medicaid. It's going to strengthen Medicaid. Why? Because they CBO, not Republicans, CBO said 2.3 million improper enrollments are involved in Medicaid right now. What is that? Illegal aliens, young able-bodied men without dependents who are riding the wagon and should be working instead. Our legislation strengthens Medicaid because we kick those people off. They were not entitled. Medicaid is intended for U.S. citizens who are young, pregnant women, disabled, or elderly, not these other categories.
But once this goes into effect, which is after the midterms, people will feel cuts who are not necessarily...
Yeah, those young able-bodied men who are sitting at home playing video games? No, that's a big portion of it.
Not just them.
Look at the studies. Look at the studies.
But when you...
So there you go. She's not going to agree. She's going to say what she... But he explains it well.
Yeah.
He goes through every point that needs to go go through.
Yep. He laid it out. Right. There wasn't anything that she put in front of him that he didn't just make clear.
But as you can see, everything gets to the minutia of it. You have to explain it. Well, there's going to be cuts. Well, no, we're taking people off that shouldn't be on it to begin with. Those are the cuts.
Yeah.
People that are supposed to be on it will get it.
Right.
Those that aren't supposed to be getting it won't be getting it. And Chuck Schumer wants the reimbursements of the federal dollars to go back to the states to help fund, what we don't want. We don't want able-bodied men to be collecting Medicaid. We don't want illegal immigrants to be collecting Medicaid. We can't pay for the entire world because that's the point they're trying to make. The other thing is the entire thing on Obamacare subsidies, which again, when you see I've seen anywhere between 114 and 130% because it's skyrocketing on the Obamacare exchange, and so here we go, another discussion on nationalized health care, Obamacare, everything that they've been trying to do. And as we have said before, you've heard, well, Medicaid for all, and you and I laugh because people are delusional. We can't even do, did I say Medicaid?
Yeah.
Medicare for all.
Yeah.
We can't do Medicare for some who've been paying premiums
Some
since
Medicare
they were
for some. Because you got to get the supplements. I mean, you think about it. It's not even doesn't even cover, everything.
We can't even do some Medicare for some.
Right.
And we've been collecting premiums since they've been teenagers.
Right. Yeah. They've paid into it.
Since they've paid into it, some close to a half a century. I will have reached the half century for me because I still have private. Here, I haven't started collecting. Medicare. Yet.
Yeah.
And so, I've been paying premiums since my first job at 16.
Yeah.
I took out Medicare.
Yeah.
So we're over 50 years. We're over a half century for me.
Yeah, 43 years for me.
And
44.
we can't do some Medicare for some.
Yeah.
And we have seen, and the important thing to note is when you look at we always point out California, Vermont, and Colorado, 3 of the states that attempted to do some type of statewide health care to cover everybody, and it failed in every single one. Why?
Nobody couldn't fund it.
Because nobody wants to fund it now. The only way Democrats, because look, we believe in federalism. If the state of California wants to have state health care insurance to cover everybody, go do it. And they attempted to do it.
With their own money.
Right. With their own money, go do it. Colorado tried to do it. Vermont tried to do it. Why did everyone fail?
Because states can't borrow money. They don't have the money to pay for it.
Even in the socialist Vermont, they said, we don't want to pay for it. What they want is the United States government to do it because we will do that through debt financing and have future generations pay for our health care today.
Exactly. Yep.
And as we've said, the debt that we have today and the reasoning behind it is one of the most immoral things we've ever done domestically. It is taxation without representation loophole is what it is. Okay, well, we'll simply tax people that aren't alive yet. No matter how you do it, the bill goes to them. It's sort of like the Democrats trying to fight. Well, it's not health care. It's just reimbursement for health care. The hell there's no difference.
Right. But they say it out loud. I'm surprised they're even bringing up the reimbursement part of it. Normally, when they lie, they leave out a huge chunk of the equation. And it's kind of surprising that they're bringing up the reimbursement, which is the whole point.
I know.
I know.
Wow.
Dad, I didn't spend any money at all. I used the credit card. I mean, that's what it feels like. Again, dealing with children.
866-98 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A series of cold fronts coming from the Pacific Ocean, traveling through the northern U.S. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey.
The first two are already on the weather map, one inland across the northwest, a second cold front just offshore. And that's kind of the new seasonal pattern here setting up, pretty typical for late September, early October, to see these Pacific cold fronts start to march their way across the northern United States.
More similar systems are expected throughout the week.
Look for occasional scattered showers from the Pacific Northwest into the upper Midwest, not enough to really cause any significant fieldwork delays or general disruptions, but some of those areas you have to remember are extremely dry. That is particularly true across the interior Northwest and really could use some moisture at this point for replenishing soil moisture ahead of the cold season.
And although cold fronts, most of North America is not expected to have cold outbreaks over the next 2 weeks due to current near to above normal temperatures. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Now, there's always the humor that comes out of anything politically, and you always got to look at you got to find humor in everything, right?
Yeah, why not?
It makes it more palatable. This is Nancy Pelosi. This is after AOC, and we had mentioned this yesterday. The AOC talking about how Chuck Schumer's the leader, Hakeem Jeffries is the leader. But you can come and directly negotiate with me. So the reporter asked the question to Nancy Pelosi if AOC is directing the government shutdown.
Yeah.
Here's this.
There was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she driving that?
Why are you saying such a ridiculous thing?
I'm just quoting what AOC said.
Yeah,
she said go to her office directly. Do you think there's any credibility to that?
She's not directing this. She's wonderful. She's a real team player and the rest of that. You started by saying Republicans saying that she's directing this. She is not. Hakeem Jeffries is. And this takes a lot of experience, a lot of unity from the caucus in terms of...
Okay, I just had to stop there because I wish you could see the video because her hand movements are just you said the Republican, and it's like, well, we actually played yesterday I think we played the audio where she said it. Either we did or we quoted the exact quote that she had.
Yeah.
Where I can't remember if I played it or said the exact quote. Where she said, come to me and negotiate with me directly, and we went, whoa!
Yeah, we didn't play it, but we did talk about it, and I love where she says, team player and all of that. That's the same as yada yada yada. She's a team player, yada yada yada.
She's not a good political poker player these days.
Yeah, no,
because you
she's
look
not.
at it and you're like, okay, we can tell what hand you have here at the moment.
Well,
with her hand.
But exactly, and that's the problem that the old leadership. Look, I don't. It's not about her age, just about how long she's been in office,
Right, yeah.
which is a very, very, very long time. It's going to always be a problem for Chuck and Nancy because you're not going to ignore an AOC. Sorry, that's who people are turning to, and AOC knows it.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you and so much for being here this morning. Just give me 1 second as my computer's on the fritz, and we are attempting to get it fixed, as I just did.
All right, good.
I just had to quickly reboot it. Did you mention The View today, or was it yesterday? I just remember you
today.
mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I just remember you mentioned the View. Let's see what's going on at The View. All right,
Okay.
just for the heck of it.
Sure.
I mean, we got time. We're not in any hurry, right?
Right. We always have time for The View.
Yeah, we always. I was in my dealership about 2 months ago. I walked in, The View was on. I was like, how long will people watch? As somebody went up and turned it like within about 30 seconds when I got there.
Yeah.
It was somebody from the parts department. It was like, I think the notice went out. We can't have The View on here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, at my oil change place, same thing. Because they have the local news on in the morning, which is WFAA TV, the local ABC affiliate, and then right after that, and then I guess Good Morning America is on then too. But then they all of a sudden The View comes on at whatever time it is, and it's like I'm looking around. Usually, there's not that many people in the waiting room. And it's one of those quick change places where, you're not going to be there for long, but I'm waiting for somebody to, I'm just waiting to see if other people, one or two other people, are even looking at the TV or if anybody ever complains. Because the staff, they're out in the bay. They're doing,
Right.
They're doing a job. They're working.
Well, my dentist, and I started going to this dentist about, just realized it's 2025. Probably about 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first went there, and he obviously is obviously to me, when talking to him for any length of time, he's a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And so out in the waiting room, he used to have Fox News on. Then he had to take that off because of complaints. And then he went to CNN and he got more complaints. And now I think they moved to a new office about, 8 years ago. I don't think there's any TVs at all. If there's a TV, it's all dental stuff.
I've been with my dentist for 30 years, and he does not have any televisions at all in his waiting room.
And neither does my doctor now. My doctor, there's a TV screen that, is all medical updates.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just what I want to do. I get my blood work analyzed, and you're scaring the daylights out of me with that I might possibly have this or that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I see that in my doctor's office.
Doesn't affect me at all.
Flashes ads about medicines and things like
but
that.
you don't need to. Everybody's got their smartphone, so there really is no need,
right.
to have that. But I'll never forget when I first walked in and he had Fox News on. I went, wow. I didn't tell him that at the time, but when he eventually took it off, I asked him. He goes, "Oh yeah, we had so many complaints." He goes. So I thought, I don't know, maybe CNN. He said people might be, because then everybody hated that. And then it became the home, the
HGTV.
HGTV, exactly.
There was
home and garden.
A dental surgeon that I went to a couple of times, and it's always HGTV, which I get a kick out of, Bob and Mary. Bob is a retired part-time teacher, and his retirement salary is $22 a month. Mary works as also a part-time educator with a salary of $200 a month. Their budget for their home is $850,000 and an additional $250,000 for renovations. And I said, no, it's not.
And we're bringing John Tapper in to analyze the finances
Exactly.
here from Bar Rescue.
Right. What did they inherit?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, here's some from The View, though. This is Joy Behar. She kicks it off. All right, here we go.
All right.
If you guys think that we can survive another 3.5 years of this, I think you're delusional. Every day there's some nihilistic thing.
Tuesday, Joy. Can we not start there?
You're I hate to be Debbie Downer, but every day this guy is undoing something in this country that we value. Every day, it's every day is a shock and awe here. And I, for one, am skeptical that we will survive this.
I am not.
I am
so
not.
if you need
No,
that for
I
a
am
week,
not.
I do believe
But Joy,
believe in our system.
You've seen
worse.
No,
right?
no, I
You've
have
seen
not.
Worse.
No, I grew up during World War II.
It's Whoopi that says she's seen worse.
No, I
All right, I'm going to need Whoopi to cheer us up.
No, every
Cuban Missile
every
Crisis,
president,
civil rights.
And they were all dealt with by presidents who were not, in the business of destroying the country and destroying the Constitution.
I'm hopeful.
I mean, we always had presidents who followed the law, including Nixon. As bad as he was, he had respect for the Constitution. And he didn't. And he didn't go after.
Nixon, he always followed the Constitution. And then a little voice, not all the time.
They didn't want to get a legal note on that.
Gosh. Oh my gosh,
That's
just
funny.
Just a little bit of a little bit of fun there. And this that I found yesterday, and this was interesting. Jonathan Turley, the whole free speech issue we've been talking about here, especially over the last couple of weeks, and he brings up a great point. He was just doing an interview. He was talking about just free speech, for example, in Europe and in Canada, and it just mirrors something that we've said before, that in Western nations. And remember when J.D. Vance brought it up and challenged what's going on in Europe. It's unbelievable what's going on in Europe, even in Canada. And Jonathan Turley talks about it. Here we go. Hear it.
Free speech is in a free fall in Europe. There are two anti-free speech movements that have coalesced. One is in Europe, where it has laid waste to free speech. Germany, France, England. Free speech has been eviscerated. And also places like Canada. The U.S. anti-free speech movement began in higher education, then metastasized throughout the government. But this has all reached our shores now. The Berlin World Forum followed the remarks of Vice President Vance on free speech, and the EU was red hot. They gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been part of. There's only two of us from the free speech community. And they are committed. And, Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. I mean, when Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA to force the censorship of American citizens, force people like Musk to censor. It's an extraordinary act by someone who was once a presidential candidate in the United States. But they are committed to it. And after the World Forum, they further globalized this effort, and they are threatening companies like X with ruinous fines unless they resume censoring American citizens.
This was really you think about it, the umbrella issue of Charlie Kirk and where Turning Point is going was all based on free speech. And that's why you had conservatives react so quickly to Pam Bondi. Quickly to what she had to say, and even Trump. I mean, it was overwhelming, when Ted Cruz came out, against, censoring. And we all said, it's like if somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you must be this somebody who," when I was in New York, you must not be too happy that Kimmel's back on the air. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? I love the fact that Kimmel's back on the air. I don't want to shut the left up. Understand that these countries are doing it because they know they're worried they can't sell what they believe to the population. Yeah. The only reason you shut people up is you can't defend your actions. You cannot defend what you think under cross-examination.
Yeah.
That's why.
Right.
And cross-examination is the opposition. We need to shut the opposition up. We saw it here in the United States, and that's one difference, the First Amendment here, and it seems as if, I think one of the greatest things that Charlie Kirk did and will continue to do, his memory, is young people understanding debate and free speech, because that's the umbrella issue.
Yeah.
There are day-to-day issues that we can agree on and day-to-day issues we disagree on, but the big issues, which is the Bill of Rights, limiting the power of the government, that it is, and this is part of the crap with the whole thing of, individualism and autonomy. That's all part of white supremacy. That's just, again, throwing Marxist bull crap, and trying to, dress it up or put frosting on it. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, no, what the Constitution of the United States did was limit the federal government and ensure that individual rights exist out there. That's why we are a constitutional republic. It is why we have the Senate. It's why we have the Electoral College. All of it is based on people being represented. And free speech is part of that. And so, thank God, I thank God every day I live in the United States. These people who sit there, I think I'm going to go elsewhere. You're out of your freaking mind.
Well, you listen to Joy Behar. There's no way we're going to survive.
Exactly.
Oh, come on.
Well, here we go again. It's got to be. She's always saying we're doomed. Anybody who says we're doomed is completely off base.
Well, look, she's employed, has a daily job, a full-time job at ABC, and has for years. She'll turn 83 in a few days. I don't know what her life expectancy is based on her genetics, but she seems to be doing okay, seems to be holding up, quite frankly, pretty well for somebody of that age. She's working every day, doesn't seem to be losing her energy.
Well, but let's look at it this way. There is no one, when you think about The View, which is unprecedented as far as I know. If there's another example, please bring it my way, because I would love to promote it. But I don't know of another talk show in the history of all talk shows where lawyers are monitoring what's going on the show all the time, because there is absolutely no trust that the host can tell the truth, and they're worried like crazy about defamation lawsuits.
Right.
So you've got somebody who has taken free speech right now, to the ultimate of where is free speech versus defamation. I mean, she's on the political edge of it. Mm-hmm. She's like the obscenity edge of where Stern used to be. Mm-hmm. And she's complaining that everything's crumbling, yet she has made herself a millionaire. Yeah. Millionaire. Probably a hundreds of millionaire by doing what? By saying things that are so inaccurate that the network has to have attorneys constantly monitoring what they say on the air because they can't be trusted. And she's saying the whole thing is doomed. Now, we can, because we're talking fiscal matters most of the time when we talk about it.
Yeah. And when we're a nation that gives up and says, all right, it doesn't matter that our national debt we can put on the backs of future generations, then that is a problem. Yeah. And in that respect, we certainly are doomed.
But
I don't know when that will be. She's saying she's put a timeline on it. We're not going to survive the next 3.5 years.
You know, she must have heard me say the other day, just everybody on the left, 81% of the Trump administration is still left.
Yeah.
She must have heard it and went,
freaked her out. Freaked her out. 3.5 years left.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. It will be interesting to see how this shutdown ends. It really will. I mean, will Trump pull the trigger? Because now we'll be entering what, day 3?
Yeah.
Will he pull the trigger and start laying off people permanently?
Sounds like he's ready to do just that. The question is when.
Because nothing was accomplished yesterday.
No.
And Republicans are saying, no, this is a clean bill. Here's what it is. Not going to do that.
Right.
And if you looked at it, the question would be, what part of what Schumer presented to Trump would Trump actually agree to that would get the members of Congress to agree to on his spending, the $1.5 trillion spending, to reverse the Medicaid, streamlining, making sure only qualified people get it.
Right.
And where is it? The subsidies? I don't know which one the Republicans would ever cave on.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.